There is a moment right after a woman crosses the line where her mind becomes louder than her conscience. A moment when her guilt has not fully settled, her fear has not fully taken shape, and her emotions are still scrambling to protect her from the weight of what she has done. That moment is where her first words come from, not the truth, not the confession, but the instinctive response her psychology uses to shield her from responsibility. And if you don't understand this moment, you will miss everything she's quietly telling you without meaning to. A woman who cheats rarely starts with honesty, she starts with distance. Emotional, verbal, psychological. She may still be standing next to you, but internally, she has already stepped away. And because she feels the shift long before you see it, she tries to soften the guilt by preparing a story that moves the blame away from her and onto something safer, something easier, something that keeps her protected. The first thing she says is never random. It is the mind scrambling to explain the discomfort she now feels in your presence, the pressure inside her chest, the rising fear that the man she betrayed might sense something, the quiet panic of being caught. So her first words come from defense, not honesty, from guilt, not clarity. And that's why you must pay attention. Because that first sentence reveals what she's trying to hide. She might say, "I just need some space." Not because she suddenly discovered a new version of herself, but because space is the easiest place to hide guilt. Space gives her room to avoid your eyes. Space gives her time to calm the emotional chaos. Space gives her a place to breathe without feeling the weight of what she's done. When a woman cheats, space becomes a shield, an emotional gap she needs to distance herself from the reality she created. Or she says, "I'm just not happy lately." And while unhappiness may have existed before, the timing is not accidental. It appears now because her mind needs a reason for her behavior. She cannot admit what she did, so she reshapes the narrative into unhappiness, not because it's the cause, but because it becomes the justification. "I'm unhappy" is easier to say than "I crossed a line and I don't know how to face you." Sometimes the first thing she says is, "You've been different." Notice the subtle shift. The spotlight moves away from her actions and onto yours. This is projection. Her guilt feels too heavy to hold, so she moves the emotional weight onto your shoulders. She convinces herself that your behavior must explain her distance. Your tone, your stress, your routine. Anything that makes her feel like she was pushed, not choosing. These words are not truth. They are emotional camouflage. If she is frightened, her first words come wrapped in irritation. She becomes short, defensive, easily annoyed. She snaps at small things. She creates friction where there was none. The irritation is not toward you, it is toward herself. But she displaces it, because facing the real source would destroy the delicate justification she is struggling to hold together. So she uses frustration as a barrier, a way to keep you emotionally at arm's length. You will notice something else. Her tone becomes rehearsed. She speaks as if she has practiced the conversation silently, because she has, not to confess, but to control the story. She prepares explanations long before you ask anything. She crafts sentences that sound innocent but feel slightly off. The emotional rhythm changes, and your intuition picks it up before your mind does. This is the psychology of guilt. Subtle, controlled, but not invisible. Sometimes the first thing she says is disguised as concern. She might say, "Are you okay? You seem distant." This is a psychological reversal. She senses her own guilt and flips it onto you. She watches your reactions carefully, trying to measure whether you suspect anything. The question is not about your emotional state. It's about her fear. If you respond calmly, her mind relaxes. If you act confused, she becomes nervous. If you ask why she's asking, she becomes defensive. Her words are a soft probe, a test to see if she is safe. But the most revealing first words often sound like this: "I don't want to talk about it right now." This is avoidance wrapped in emotion. It means her mind is not ready to confront the truth. She is terrified that a single conversation could unravel everything. And so she pushes it away. She changes the subject, she walks away. She goes into another room. Silence becomes her escape. Because silence gives her time to rebuild the emotional wall she needs to keep the guilt under control. If she feels guilt rising too strongly, she shifts into emotional confusion. She says, I just feel lost. Or, I need time to figure myself out. These phrases are psychological fog. They are meant to make the situation feel complicated, even when the truth is simple. A woman uses emotional fog when the reality is too sharp, too direct, too painful for her to admit. She covers the truth with confusion so she can avoid confronting the consequences of her actions. But if she fears discovery more than guilt, her first words become overly detailed. She talks too much, gives long explanations, adds unnecessary details to simple stories. This is overcompensation. The mind knows the truth is fragile, so it tries to reinforce the lie with extra words. The more worried she is, the longer the sentences become. She speaks quickly, hoping speed can outrun suspicion. But what she doesn't realize is that over-explaining is one of the most transparent signs of emotional panic. The calmest version of her first words is the most dangerous. I'm fine, but everything in her body says otherwise. The tone is flat, the eyes avoid yours, the energy feels off. This version of I'm fine is not peace. It is emotional shutdown. She is internally locked in a battle between guilt and self-protection. And instead of reacting, she contains everything. Silent, guarded, careful. A woman who cheats often moves into this emotional freeze because it keeps her from slipping up. And then there is the final category, the women who say nothing at all. Silence becomes the first thing they say. No warmth, no softness, just a quiet withdrawal. This silence is not emptiness. It is noise, thick, heavy noise filling the space between you. Silence is where her guilt hides when it cannot find the right sentence. Silence is where she waits, hoping time will numb the weight of what she did. Silence becomes the signal her mind uses to avoid a collapse. Female psychology reveals something subtle but important. A woman's first words after cheating are not about you. They are not about the relationship. They are about the emotional storm inside her. Her guilt, her fear, her confusion, her denial, all pushing her into a psychological corner where her instinct is to protect herself, not confess. This is why her first words matter, not because they reveal the truth, but because they reveal the emotional state she is hiding behind. A woman who is afraid will sound careful. A woman who is guilty will sound distant. A woman who is confused will sound foggy. A woman who is defensive will sound irritated. A woman who is detaching will sound cold. A woman who is hiding something will sound scripted. Your job is not to interrogate, not to accuse, not to fight. Your job is to observe, calmly, strongly, quietly, because the truth is rarely in her words, it's in the emotional fingerprints behind them. When a woman cheats, her psychology tries to protect her from the weight of the betrayal. But it cannot stop the shift that happens inside her. That shift leaks through her tone, her timing, her distance, her excuses, her silence. These early cracks reveal everything long before she ever admits a single thing. Pay attention not to what she says, but why she says it. Pay attention not to the words, but the emotional pattern behind them. Pay attention not to the story, but the timing of the story. Because when a woman cheats, her first sentence is never the truth. It is the shield she hopes will hold long enough for her guilt to calm down. That is why you must stay steady. When she changes, you stay grounded. When she gets defensive, you become observant. When she avoids, you become patient. When she pushes distance, you stop chasing. Her psychology unfolds clearly when your presence stays calm. And eventually, the truth reveals itself. Not because you demanded it, but because her emotions could no longer carry the weight of the lie. This is the quiet power of understanding female psychology. You don't chase the truth. You recognize the truth. You read the emotional current beneath the surface. You stay steady while her mind tries to hide what her behavior already exposed. Because in the end, her first words say everything, not about the affair itself, but about the storm she is trying desperately to hide.